Most American parents think independence is something you teach a teenager. In Japan, 6-year-olds ride the subway alone, and nobody blinks. It's not that Japanese parents care less. They're using a method almost nobody in the West has heard of. So today, we are counting down 15 parenting practices straight from Japan, and number 1 ties every secret on this list together. Let's get into it. Number 15, students clean their own classroom. In most American schools, a janitor mops the floor after the kids go home. In Japan, the kids do it themselves. Right after lunch, for about 20 minutes, students grab rags and brooms and clean their own classroom, the hallway, even the teacher's lounge, while music plays over the speakers. Most parents assume this is just about tidiness. It is not. When a child cleans a space, their brain stops seeing it as somebody else's job. Psychologists call this the ownership effect. You take care of what you feel responsible for, so the practical action here is small. Instead of cleaning up after your child, hand them the cloth and clean the same mess together. The benefit is huge. Kids raised this way develop a quiet sense of pride in their environment instead of learning that a mess is always somebody else's problem to fix. A clean room built by small hands means more to a child than one handed to them already spotless. Number 14, kids serve each other lunch. In Japanese elementary schools, there is no cafeteria staff scooping food onto trays. Students take turns wearing little white coats and caps, and they serve their classmates rice, soup, and fish, one desk at a time. It looks like a simple chore. But watch what is actually happening. The child on serving duty has to pay attention to who has already been served, portion food fairly, and make decisions on behalf of the group. That is executive function training disguised as lunch. At home, you can borrow this instantly. Let your child serve the table at dinner, even if it is just passing out napkins or dishing out the vegetables. The benefit is a child who starts thinking in terms of we instead of just me. Feeding someone else, even in a small way, quietly builds empathy that a lecture never could. Number 13, the greeting habit. In Japan, children are taught to say hello, called aisatsu, to every neighbor, shopkeeper, and crossing guard they pass. Most parents in the West think of greetings as just manners, but in Japan, this habit is treated as a safety system. When kids greet the same shop owner every morning, that shop owner starts to know the child, notice when something is off, and step in if needed. Researchers who study child independence in Japan found that neighborhood adults are far more likely to look out for kids they recognize. So the action here is simple. Practice greeting familiar faces with your child on your daily walk, the mail carrier, the neighbor, the person at the coffee shop. The benefit is that your child builds a small web of trusted adults around them, not through a class or an app, but just by saying hello. Number 12, kids are split into small accountability groups. Japanese classrooms divide students into tiny teams called han, usually 4 to 6 kids, responsible for shared jobs like cleaning or lunch duty. If one child in the group does not do their part, the whole group feels it. Western classrooms usually grade and reward kids individually. This flips that completely. When a child is accountable to a small group instead of just themselves, they develop something individual praise cannot build, a sense of contribution. At home, you can recreate a tiny version of this. Give siblings or even just your one child and you a shared job like watering the plants together every week, where success depends on both of you following through. The payoff is a child who learns that their effort actually matters to someone else, not just to a grade or a gold star. Number 11, effort gets praised, not talent. If a Japanese child struggles through a hard math problem and finally gets it, the parent will say something like, "You worked so hard on that," rather than, "You're so smart." This connects to a concept called gaman, which roughly means quiet endurance through difficulty. Stanford research on praise has actually shown the exact same pattern, that praising effort builds kids who keep trying after failure, while praising natural talent builds kids who give up the moment something feels hard. So next time your child finishes something difficult, resist the urge to say "good job" or "you're so smart." Instead, name the specific effort you watched them put in. The benefit shows up later, usually around age 7 or 8, when school gets harder and some kids quit while others push through because they were taught early that effort is the thing worth being proud of. Number 10. Discipline never happens in public. If a Japanese toddler melts down on a train, you will almost never see the parent yell or negotiate on the spot. Instead, they will often carry the child off at the next stop, crouch down at eye level on an empty platform, and speak quietly away from an audience. Most Western parents think discipline needs to happen the second the behavior happens. Japanese parents disagree, and there is real psychology behind it. A child who is corrected in front of strangers is often too flooded with embarrassment to actually absorb the lesson. Their brain is busy managing shame instead of learning, so the action is this. The next time your child acts out somewhere public, resist correcting them on the spot in front of others. Wait until you are alone, then talk it through calmly. Kids raised this way tend to actually hear the lesson instead of just feeling exposed by it. Number 9. Parents model the behavior instead of demanding it. This is a concept called shitsugo, and it is less about punishment and more about becoming a living example. The character for shitsugo literally combines the words for body and beauty. The idea that discipline is something absorbed through the body, through watching, not through being told. So if a Japanese parent wants their child to speak gently, they speak gently first. If they want their child to clean up, they clean up first, right beside them. Most Western discipline is reactive. It waits for bad behavior and then responds. Shitsugo is proactive. It removes the bad behavior before it ever shows up by giving the child nothing to imitate but the right behavior. Try this for 1 full week. Whatever behavior frustrates you most in your child, check whether you are modeling the opposite of it consistently enough for them to actually copy. Number 8. Parents step back and watch instead of jumping in. This is called mimamoru, which roughly translates to watchful waiting. When a Japanese toddler struggles to put on their own shoes, or a group of kids argue over a toy, the adult nearby often does not intervene right away. They watch closely, ready to help, but they let the struggle actually happen first. Most Western parents feel an almost automatic pull to fix the problem the second it appears. Tie the shoe, solve the argument, hand over the toy. But a child who is rescued every time never actually builds the skill of working through frustration. The next time you see your child struggling with something safe but frustrating, count to 10 in your head before you step in. Most of the time they figure it out. And the ones they figure out themselves are the ones that actually stick. Number 7, tantrums are allowed to run their course. This is one of the most surprising ones for American parents. When a Japanese toddler has a full meltdown in a park, it is common for the parent to simply stay close, stay calm, and not intervene with bribes, distractions, or long negotiations. They let the wave of emotion move through the child without trying to shut it down immediately. Western parenting culture often treats a tantrum as an emergency to solve as fast as possible. But a child interrupted mid-meltdown never actually finishes processing the emotion. It just gets buried and shows up again later. So instead of jumping straight to bargaining or distraction next time, try staying physically close, staying quiet, and simply waiting the storm out. The benefit is a child who slowly learns their big feelings are survivable, instead of learning that big feelings always need an adult to make them stop. Number 6, physical closeness at bedtime. Many Japanese families sleep close together, often in a formation called kawa no ji, which means the shape of the river, parents on either side and the child in the middle. This is not considered spoiling in Japan, it is considered normal attachment. Western sleep training often pushes independence at bedtime as early as possible, but attachment researchers have long shown that consistent physical closeness in early childhood actually predicts more independence later, not less, because the child's nervous system learns that comfort is reliable, so it stops needing to fight for it. You do not need to co-sleep to borrow this idea. Even a few extra minutes of quiet physical closeness at bedtime, no phones, no rushing, sends the same signal to a child's brain. Number 5, dependence comes before independence, not instead of it. This is the concept of ame, the deep, secure reliance a Japanese child is allowed to have on their parent, especially in the early years. Western parenting often treats dependence as something to phase out as fast as possible. Japanese parenting treats it as the foundation independence is built on top of. A child who is allowed to fully depend on a parent when they are small develops a kind of internal safety net, and children with a strong safety net take more risks later, not fewer, because they know they have somewhere to return to if it goes wrong. The practical version of this is simple. Stop rushing your toddler toward independence out of guilt or comparison. Let them lean on you fully right now. The independence comes later, and it comes faster when it is not forced early. Number 4, the whole neighborhood is part of the parenting. In Japan, there are small neighborhood posts, sometimes literally called the 110 house, where any adult can step in to help a child in trouble, no questions asked. Crossing guards, shopkeepers, and even random neighbors are culturally expected to look out for kids who are not theirs. A study comparing 14 countries found that Japanese parents were the most likely of anywhere in the world to believe that neighborhood adults would look out for other people's children. In most American neighborhoods, that trust simply is not built the same way anymore. But you can start building a small version of it. Get to know the 2 or 3 neighbors near you well enough that your child recognizes them as safe adults. That tiny network becomes an actual safety layer for your child, not just a nice idea. Number 3, the walk to school is treated like a design system, not a risk. Japanese schools, parents, and even local police map out the exact safe route a child will walk to school, mark it with signs, station volunteers at busy crossings, and restrict car traffic during school hours. Barely 2% of Japanese school children take a bus because the walk itself is treated as valuable, not dangerous. In America, independence is often withheld out of fear, and the fear is treated as the whole explanation. But in Japan, the fear was solved with infrastructure and planning, not just withheld freedom. You cannot redesign your street, but you can walk the actual route with your child repeatedly, point out landmarks and safe stopping points, and build the same kind of familiarity before ever letting them try a short stretch alone. Number 2, independence arrives in small, measured stages, starting shockingly early. Many Japanese children ride a school bus alone by age 3, walk to school by 5 or 6, and are commonly riding public trains completely alone by age 9 or 10. This is not a single leap. It is dozens of tiny supervised steps that build on each other, each one slightly harder than the last. Most Western parents wait for one big moment to hand over independence all at once, usually around driving age, and it can feel terrifying because there was no practice run. The Japanese model breaks independence into a staircase instead of a cliff. Look at whatever privilege your child is asking for right now, and instead of a flat yes or no, build one small supervised version of it first. Number 1, the first errand alone. There is a decades-old Japanese children's book and later a television show called Hajimete no Otsukai, which means my first errand. It follows small children, sometimes as young as 2 or 3, being sent out completely alone to complete a simple task: buying milk, dropping off a package, crossing a street to the fish market. It looks almost unbelievable to Western eyes, but it is not a stunt. It is the natural final step of everything else on this list. The child has already been greeted by name at the local shop from years of aisatsu. The neighborhood already treats them as a shared responsibility. The walking route was already mapped and practiced. The parent already stepped back and watched instead of rescuing. The child already had a secure enough attachment at home to feel safe walking away from it. The errand is not one isolated trick. It is the visible result of every single habit on this list working together at once. That is the real secret hiding underneath all of this. Independence in Japan is never handed over suddenly. It is built one small brick at a time, starting from the moment a child is born. So that is 15 parenting secrets straight from Japan, and the truth is you do not need to move across the world to use a single one of them. Pick just one from this list, the one that surprised you the most, and try it this week. Which one are you going to start with? Was it the private discipline trick, the watchful waiting, or the first errand? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to see what happens when this same philosophy is applied to how Japanese parents handle screen time, you are going to want to check out the next video.